Nikhil, there were some concerns about Shubman Gill's away form, but when Ajit Agarkar says that Shubman Gill is being looked at for not one, not two, but far more than a couple of tours, that tells you a story or two, doesn't it?
That's right, Harshit. In fact, he was asked that question about how did he zero in on Shubman Gill. He spoke about the other contenders as well. He spoke about someone like KL Rahul because he was also one of those contenders. He said, listen, we did think about him. Remember, he had been captain earlier as well, but clearly indicating that overall they probably weren't that impressed with his captaincy that he got for a very brief period of time. And that's why they thought that it's best to look forward and look at a youngster. He was also asked about Jasprit Bumrah being that captain. And he said, listen, if he's not going to be fit, and he clarified that for all the 5 test matches, Jasprit Bumrah is not going to be there. So when you have to manage somebody's workload, then it is best that you go in with a captain who's available to lead the team for all test matches. And then when questions were asked about Shubman Gill's form in England, he said that, listen, he's only played 1 test match, though technically Shubman has played 3 if you count the 2 WTC final. But he spoke about only 1 test match versus England. And he said, anyway, England is a tough place to tour. Not many Indian batters will have a great record there. And it's too early to really take a call on Shubman, whether he's good enough to play in foreign conditions or not. He said he's still a youngster. They see potential in him. And that's the word that he used a few times when referring to Shubman Gill. And that's why they have given him the captaincy, because they have this belief in a Shubman Gill that he can be that long-term option. Remember, he's just 25 years of age. He's only played 32 test matches. He's been very good in Indian conditions, one of the highest run getters. And probably with time, they feel that he has the game in him. And when he spoke about a few other players as well, he said it's not just always the record. They also see the potential of a player. When he spoke about someone like a Sai Sudarshan and many other players, about how much do they see the selectors in terms of their performance going forward. So they see a lot of potential, and they thought after looking at all the possible options and debating over it, Shubman Gill was the consensus candidate.
Now, Nikhil, besides Shubman Gill's name, the one name that stood out in that press conference and was repeated again and again was that of Jasprit Bumrah. And the one thing that Ajit Agarkar said was he'll perhaps be needed more as a bowler, and you didn't want to burden him with added responsibility of leadership given his workload as a bowler. Perhaps the right call given his body, which has a tendency of giving up in long test series.
100% the right call, because the selectors clearly mentioned he's not available for the 5 test matches. So that has been established in consultation with the bowler as well as the medical team that the BCCI has at the Excellence Center. So based on that, they knew he's not going to be available for 5 test matches. In fact, Ajit Agarkar went on to say that it'll be either 3 or 4. They can't tell you with the 100% guarantee whether it'll be 3 or 4, but that's the sort of workload that they're looking at. They'll take a call on that when he's on tour. And listen, there is a precedent to that. Why is it that they've decided to give captaincy to someone who's available for all 5 test matches, even though Jasprit Bumrah has done a good job as captain in the limited opportunities that he's got, and is, of course, a sure shot starter for India in any format? Because we saw that in Australia. There was a change in captaincy in Australia. You had Rohit Sharma miss out the first test match because of personal reasons. Jasprit Bumrah was captain, and then Jasprit Bumrah was captain for the last test match when Rohit Sharma decided to drop himself. And they did see that it wasn't the smoothest of transitions happening in the middle of the tour when you're going to be changing captain, because the thought process changes, the tactics change, the 11 that you want to play change, because each captain looks at it differently. And so it's tough then to have some sort of consistency in terms of your planning, strategy, playing 11 for the entire tour. And I think what they observed in Australia, where you had to look at 2 different captains over a period of 5 test matches for different reasons, I think that's when the selectors made up their mind that this is an arrangement we can't have going forward. This time the reasons may be different, but it would still have been an arrangement where Bumrah would have been captain for a few test match, and somebody else would have had to step into his shoes for the remaining test match. And so this is one thing that didn't really work out for the Indian team in Australia. So they decided it's best not to do it. And also remember, it's the start of the new WTC cycle. That's another thing that Ajit Agarkar mentioned when it came to selection, not just captaincy, but selection as well. and they thought it's best to look forward because he was asked about those two senior players in Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli. So he said best to look forward and go with a captain who can be a long-term option, and that's where they zeroed in on a Shubman Gill.